Good morning, everyone. All right, it's going to take me a little bit to walk down here. If you have any questions or whatever, you can let me know. Hang on, let me turn on my volume. All right, I think I'm all up. All right, as I walk down here, I'm about, well, I'll wait a couple of minutes to see if anybody else is coming. Check. All right, well, it looks like I have at least 10 people in here. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about the excitement about the reading exam. To be honest with you, I'm disappointed because I think that even though we're remote, I think we can still be ready for that exam. I think for the most part right now, you're almost 80% there. I know some of you say, you know, oh, I'm not doing very well on some of the assignments or the questions or whatever, but your questions are getting better. Like the answers to the questions are getting better. You're thinking a little bit more. You're spending a little bit more time, you know, maybe looking for stuff in the book and things like that. So I want to make sure that you understand that I really feel that you could have been ready for this exam. The other side of this is this, and this is just off of what I've got off of the New York State website. This is not a directive or anything like that that I've gotten from, you know, the jacket's shining off my nose. It looks like I have a highlighter spot there. This is not a directive. I've not really heard a whole lot other than, you know, that, you know, the regents, or that actually the only thing that's really come out is that we're staying until the 29th, and then the 30th would be our first day back. That's really all I've heard. As far as what I've looked up and researched myself, and from various other sources around the BOCES area, you know, that the regents are canceled. I believe that's pretty much been all over the news. But also there are stipulations regarding getting the credit for the regents exam. One of them, first and foremost, is passing the class. So you must pass the class. That's a big component, right? So that means you still have to do the work. You still have to be with me. Still have to spend the time, because that's how I'm grading. I'm grading based on whether you've been actually at these classrooms or not, because I record it so I know who's been and who hasn't been. That's going to be part of how I'm going to factor things in. Obviously, this is without directive right now. You know, so unless they decide to change something, I have a meeting later on today with administration, so we'll see how that goes. But the idea is that you have to meet the requirements of the class. So that means we still have to go on, we still have to move on, we still have to learn about rocks, we still have to learn about landscapes. We actually really don't have a whole lot, but we still have to do, like, you know, earthquake stuff and volcanoes, but it won't be a problem. You know, the lab requirement is not a big deal, but I do want to do, you know, go through some of the state labs, and I'm going to do those, you know, with my Elmo, and be able to show you exactly what we need to do and how we need to do that. I don't know how we're going to do that without equipment, but who knows? At least you'll be able to see it being done. So anyway, so to get to today's lesson, because I don't want to spend too much time, and if you have questions, please email me or snap me or whatever about the rest of the stuff. And like I said, the more information I get, the more information I'll give you. So anyway, so on the bottom of the link that I posted yesterday for announcements, you'll notice that there's a map. And I thought that this would be good to actually show you where I am, and, you know, on these journeys. And if you haven't taken a look at the overview, it's kind of choppy, but I'm still learning that Google Earth program and how to work that in. But that's basically what I'm going to be doing for the tour. I've done a couple of videos already up above, but I've got to do a couple in Albany, probably about 10 in Albany, or Albany, Schenectady area, and I have to make sure that I can get into those areas as well. But anyway, so if you look at that map, even if you just pull it up now, you'll notice a highlighted area. That's kind of where I am right now. I'm kind of at the beginning of that pink, and I'm actually crossing an old bridge. Well, I'm going to be crossing here an old bridge onto another section so that I can get down along the shoreline. But you can see I'm going to flip this around. I've got notes in my hand and stuff, but let me turn it this way. All right, so if you look behind me, that's actually a water pipeline that goes through there. And that's actually coming from the water treatment plant that's further downstream. And that's where basically all your water and both Johnstown and Gloversville water gets recycled and then returned back to the system. Once it's cleaned and sanitized. And then the upside of the creek, this is where we're coming from. So we're about roughly, I'm like 2 miles right now from where I was at Townsend. If you notice, the stream bed is much wider here, and the flow is just as strong, which means that if you're pushing an area, pushing a larger or wider area of a stream and the stream volume is still the same, that means that somewhere along the lines we've added a few things, like added a few streams. And basically, we've added Hale Creek, we've added Yost Creek, and the last one I wrote down. Where's the last one? Matthew. That's right. The one that goes behind my house. How easy I can forget that one. So Matthew, Hale Creek. Matthew comes in right at the base of Pleasant Avenue. Hale Creek comes in just above on Perry over in Johnstown by the cemetery, really closer to Stewart's, like Main Street area. And Yost actually comes in just above where I am, or somewhere right in here where I am. So we've added, 3 streams, 2 larger ones, 1 smaller. Yost is a small stream. It used to come out of the mountains, it used to come out of the hills behind Johnstown High School. And since when they built that high school section and they built the fields out back, what they did was they pushed it underground. So there's a section that runs underground to about Warren Street Elementary School. So that's kind of the dynamics of where we are now. You can see over here, there's actually an old foundation. I'm guessing probably from a mill. I haven't done the history on it. If anybody wants to do the history on that, we're down below Montgomery Street off the rail trail in Johnstown. So if you want to do the history on that, that would be awesome. I'd be looking at giving credit for that. So if anybody wants to do that, I have no idea what that building is. I just can see the stone foundation. Could have been a water wheel, could have been a bunch of different things down here. You never know. So I'm going to walk my way across this section here and try to get down the stream. If you notice over here too, I don't know if I can zoom this in. Oh, I can from this side. Over here, you'll see that's a shale bank over here, right? Probably, thousands to millions of years old. And we'll talk about that. I'm trying to get down to another one over there where I can kind of pull at it. If not, I know I can come back to that one and get close to it. I don't know how close, but I can get pretty close to it. So I'm going to walk down through here. There's a couple other spots I want to show. I'm not on my favorite side of the creek, but this will work. Over on the over off the rail trail, if you're walking past the industrial park or towards the industrial park from Main Street down here, you'll see a lower section that has like a plateau and it has like a trail to it that goes down. Now there's a couple of spots I want to show that I can only see from this side. Maybe I can I'll walk all the way down to where I'm going first, and then if there's time, I'll come back and show you this. Maybe I can turn this camera around. Come on. Sorry. You think by now I'd have this all figured out? I don't know if you can see it through. Right about the center of the screen right now, you can see a flat rock on the other side. You got to look between the trees. It's an area where the ground is slipping out from underneath each other, and it's really causing a mess over there. But if I can get back to that, I will, because they really need to do something about that and how that's set up. But this is where I'm walking right now. It's a pretty open trail. I'm going to have to get down to this lower section, but I don't know how close I can walk to the stream till I get down there. A lot of four-wheeler traffic on here. If you're not familiar, the actual end of Yost Street is to my right over here in Johnstown. Maybe some relatives or something that live out here. And then where I'm headed is actually right behind the Horseshoe, there's a street or road or drive, Horseshoe Drive neighborhood. And I'll be down below that. If you have any questions while I'm walking, please throw them up on the screen, on the chat. And you'll be able to see, oh, here's another spot that I can actually show you. There's a couple of these. A lot of times this happens, well, this happens quite often when you try to run drainage off of the side of a hill, and it makes the bank unstable. And so you should be able to see that pipe over there, about dead center of your view. And you can see the water basically trickling out of there. But if you notice, this whole section has caved in, right? And it's falling. That's what you call mass movement. Now, they put some concrete, like broken concrete from sidewalks in here to try to stabilize this bank or try to keep the erosion down, which is probably the best process they could do with where that is. But you can see that this whole section, let me go up here, this whole section along here is being undercut. So you got to keep an eye, they got to keep an eye on this, because the rail trail, literally, if you see where the fence is, the rail trail is literally right on the other side of that. You know, they're going to keep an eye on this. There's a couple of these spots that I've been watching. Yeah, well, I have my, when I zoom the camera in, it's probably not the best video. Understood. Yeah, I know it's blurry. You can see now though, right? When I'm not zoomed in. All right. So as you can see, and that's one of the reasons why I gave you that map and the topo map. You can see that the elevation change here down to the creek is quite a bit. You're talking a drop of 100 feet, you know, from like 600 to 500 to the base. And actually it's a little bit lower than that because the stream goes down a little bit further. So talking probably 120 feet of drop. And the reason why is because I told you, as streams are young, and this is relatively young stream, even though up above it's got some meanders in the flat area, right? When it starts picking up speed, you know, down this section, because one of the other things you'll notice is that we're headed to Fonda. So if you think about, if you've ever been down to the thruway in Fonda, or you've been into Fonda Fair or whatever, you notice you go down a big hill going down the arterial or Route 30. Well, if you think about that, right, this creek needs to get down there too. And so the elevation change increases the speed of the stream. So while you're, you know, while that stream is moving, it's down cutting because it's running much faster. So you'll notice that the elevation change, not only from where we were up at Townsend Leather, that's about 120 feet of drop, roughly. So that's one of the challenges that I have for you today, is to calculate the gradient from Townsend down to where I am. So you figure it goes from about 640 feet to 500 feet, or about 490 or 480, say, because there would be there's another line there, so 480. So you should be able to calculate the gradient based on 2.2 miles, because that's the distance between where we were at Townsend and where I'll be once I get down to where I want to be. And so when you think about that, right, you should be able to calculate the gradient or the change, right, in field value, which is the altitude or elevation, right, divided by the distance, which is 2.2 miles. So when you get that, you can email it to me, or when you calculate it, you can email it to me, and then we'll go from there. Now, there was a place, without killing myself, to get down here, but I'm not seeing it. And that's not it. All right, so while I'm walking, again, that gradient question, put that together. Also, when I get down here, you might want your reference tables out. And there were some words that I also included, like the keywords for today, things that I'll be covering a little bit more in depth. I only got about a quarter mile to go, I think. So keywords would be gradient, which we just talked about. Again, changing field value over distance, right? And discharge, which I talked about how the discharge is increasing now that we're, going downstream faster, right? We've increased the number of tributaries or streams running in. All right, so this is actually Yost coming down right here, Yost Creek. And it comes down, meets, and then goes down over the hill over here. And you can see, it's eroded quite a bit of that. And that's a good spot for me to talk about the sail when I get back. I was going to come down yesterday and check out this trail because I haven't been down here in a while, to make sure it's feasible. No, I still got to go down a little bit more. But you can see this is a pretty large access road going down into here. And there's more evidence of the pipeline going down to, that's a manhole pipeline coming from Johnstown and Gloversville, going down to the water treatment plant, which I said again is towards the bottom of the stream. If you know where the industrial park is in Johnstown, right before there's a road that cuts across to the Salmonville cutoff. And that road, the plant is on. It's like right in the crook of this stream, or in the valley. Huh. What do we have here? Interesting. Looks to me like somebody had a campfire that got out of hand. This is why, they have a no burn notice, until May. Well, luckily it didn't make its way across the way here to this Horseshoe Drive neighborhood that's up in front of me. I don't think I'm going to make it down here. Yeah, I don't know about the connection because I'm pretty solid connection wise down here, but that's a good thought. Oh. Well, the path appears trashed, literally. That's where I want to be. Shoot. Let me see if there's a spot further down. Darn. All right, so you can see that horseshoe neighborhood over here. And if you look down here, you can see the drainage. All right, you know, all these houses that are up in here, right? The water that comes through there would flood their basements if they didn't put drainage in around the houses and around the development. So let me turn it this way. Around the houses and around the development. So what they did was they put a drainage in all around all the houses in the neighborhood, and they run the drain water out through this tube here. I think I might be able to climb down through here. So just bear with me because you're going to see a lot of motion. I think if I can get down here. Who knows, you might see me fall today. Not to get that water in my boots. And speaking of boots, I just want to point out, I actually have my boots, they're sprayed with a tick repellent. And the reason why is because the ticks are nasty this year. So if you are out and about, even in your backyard, believe it or not, in the grass, right, you want to make sure, you know, that you check yourself for ticks, because they are nasty today, this year. All right, so I've gotten down actually into the stream bed tonight, which is actually better than I thought as far as what I'm looking for. And this is, again, is that drainage line that comes out up above. But this is what I was looking for anyway. All right. I'm sure, right, at some point in time, you've seen this stuff before. Right? This is shale. Now, when you, and if you open your reference tables to the sedimentary rocks, page 7, on the top, it talks about shale. It tells you what it's made of. One of the biggest things is, and you can see that this is really just pressed together, but you can see that there's different like layers. And basically what happens is, right, these are all compressed layers of clay. And clay particles are very, very, very small particles, like the smallest particles we talk about in sedimentary rocks. But when they're compressed over a long period of time, and I'm talking thousands to millions of years, right, that this stuff takes to form, underneath all this pressure, and you can see around me, right, there's shale kind of everywhere here in this area. And there's some leaves falling on some of the stuff, but this is the stuff. Now, what's nice about this, or I guess not nice, but what's cool about this is, right, if you hit it, right, it splits. And if you look close on these, oh, I took it off, but if you look close, I don't know if you can see that very well. I'll take a picture of this later so you can look at it. But you can see the layering inside this. So in other words, layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of clay, right, very fine particles, right, are laid on top of each other and then compressed over time, being pushed by, right, the material above it. So the more material you put above it, right, the more compact it gets, and the stiffer it becomes. Now you would think because it fractures very easily that it wouldn't be great to build on, but actually this stuff is pretty good to build on. Being compressed like it is, and as long as it's in the ground or underneath the ground, it's fine. It's when it's exposed like this that it starts cracking and breaking apart. But when you drill down, if you're going to put a building in and you want to put like, you know, the metal girders in to hold the building up, the stanchions, right? Those actually will be fine in this material. And actually it's good building material. I mean, you can look that up as well. But you can see here's a piece right here. If I can get close enough to it. It's kind of weird because the angle of this camera is off, but there's my hand. There's my hand. All right, so this piece in here, right? You can see I can kind of pull this apart, you know, with my hands and break it up. If you've ever played in an area where you know, there's a lot of shale, but this is a big hunk of it, right? And you can see, right, even just taking one piece, you can break apart the rest, right? So it separates quite easily, you know, and splits up like that. But again, right, structure, if you're to drill straight through that, it's pretty stiff stuff, only because it's been compacted together quite a bit. All right, let me see. I'm wondering if my camera is got stuff on it or something, because people are still saying that it's foggy. Let me know if it gets better or worse. Might get worse down here. The hard part about this whole thing is, in order for this to work, I actually have to run this at home on my computer. And running on my computer at home and adding it to my phone. The reason why is because the phone app doesn't allow you to do some of the features that I can do from the computer. So that's why I have to run the computer at the same time. So I have to set it all up and then go out. So that's why it takes me a little bit longer to get to places, because I don't want to leave that thing running at my house for 2 hours while I'm out here. All right. This is a beautiful spot down here. You know, if you ever need to get out of the house and go for a jog or something, the rail trail is up on top up here. And this is a beautiful spot. There's a down on the other side, there's actually a path that comes down here as well. The one I took, you can't see, but probably not going to go back up that one. But anyway, so this is a beautiful spot in the stream. You can see upstream, and I'll move up a little closer because I know I don't want to zoom in this video because I think that's sometimes part of the problem. But you can see these. I mean, the whole place is filled with shale. Now, I was going to ask you this question, but you can see the bedrock underneath here where these riffles are. Each one of these individual riffles, right, has a shelf similar to this up there above that's facing the other direction. And so it's causing this riffle effect in the water, which is excellent, excellent, excellent for trout. Because it really bubbles, and you can see the white foam here. It really bubbles that oxygen into the water so that they have something to breathe. So in addition to the shale that's in this creek, we have rocks that look like this. Right? You can see this has a little bit angular spots here, but it also is rounded on edges, right? So in that email, if you decide to do or you should do the gradient question, right? Tell me why this rock is rounded. Return it back to the stream. So with the stream dynamics, you can see, or you probably hear it. I don't know if I'm speaking too loud, but you can probably hear the roar of the stream. So there's a lot of volume, right, or discharge that's coming through this area. If you look over on the other side, over in this area over here, you'll notice that there's a little bit of undercutting there, you know, where it's trying to come around the corner. But once it gets around this corner, like, you have to think of, and I can't get over there, but you have to think of this area right here as being straight, really from kind of up here all the way down through to about here is straight. So some of that over there, right, is being undercut by the stream trying to change direction. When we get down here further, oh, and while I'm walking, that clay formation, right, since the slate or shale formation, sorry, you have to think about it like this. The particles are very, very small, right? Clay is very, very small particle. In order for that clay, right, and think about this, in order for that clay to settle down, right, and to lay itself out flat so it can be compressed into shale, right, in order for that to happen, it cannot be in this type of water. It can't. Because the clay, right, would be just in suspension, like we talked about the other day, suspension, solution, right, and then some that roll, right? It can't be in this water. I mean, it's in here, but it couldn't have laid down in this water because there's just too many it's too fast. So that means that all of this shale that you see here, all of that shale that you see here was laid down in either a lake, a swamp, an ocean, right, a shallow sea, right, or some kind of basically stagnant or still water, and then compressed and formed into the shale. Now, if you add heat and more pressure to this, right, to shale, it becomes the metamorphic rock slate. Now, slate, if you've ever been, like Glover's Hill still has a lot of them along the sidewalks, it looks like a stone on the ground instead of concrete, right? That you're probably looking at slate. That stuff is very, very hard to break, right? Because it's been under extreme heat and pressure. And metamorphic rock is harder to break apart than, than any of the sedimentary rock, or even some of the igneous rock. I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to walk into here a little bit. Woohoo! Tell you what, this water is not warm. I just want to get this. See what this is. I've got another project for you. I found something here. Let me get out of the water first before I fall. Found something here. Lay it on the ground. It's a brick. It was in the water. Now, typically the stamps on here tell you where it comes from. And there it looks like it says DP, but then it says XTURE, and then here it looks like TEEL. Now, I'm curious because this might be the type of mixture that they created the brick with. But if you can find out information on that, email me about that. There'll be a lot of history stuff that we'll be talking about when I do the virtual tour. And if you haven't gone and looked at that, take a look at it. And I'll be doing individual videos, 3-4 minutes long, about the history of where I am. And a little bit about the stream in that area, and maybe a little bit about the stream dynamics in that area. But so far I've covered gradient, right, which is the difference between my upstream up in Townsend down to where I am now. And like I said, I'm about 480 right now, and I'm thinking up there it's about 620, maybe 640. You might have to research the topo map of Johnstown to figure that out up by Steele. But they're easy to get a hold of. Obviously, I just searched that one and printed it out, so I was able to get it quite quickly. But gradient, right? The gradient from Townsend down to where I am. And if you look, this hillside is pretty steep. Again, we're down cutting a lot. And if you look at this area here, I'm going to come closer because you see it was blurry before. This is all mass movement, right? This is all mass movement. This material, right? This material is falling downhill. You can see down here, I don't know if you can see it any better now. I know it's kind of blurry, but down in this area down here, you can see there's big sections of material that's fallen. And basically, right, that material is falling because gravity. So when it undercuts coming around, you can see this turn right here, right? It's moving faster on this side of the stream and slower over here. In fact, you can see the stones that are laid along here, right? Some of the stones, they're laid along that area, right? And over here, you can see where it's cutting underneath this bank. So again, outside of the stream is faster, inside of the stream is slower. The last part, I think, that I haven't talked about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the last part about it I wanted to talk about was erosional depositional interfaces. And while that sounds like a big term, it's really not that hard to think about. There's two different erosional depositional interfaces in a stream. Because basically what it is it's the point at which the deposition in a stream changes to erosion, or vice versa, erosion to deposition. So when we're looking at this stream here, and you can look further down too, you can see the undercutting there as it turns the other direction. The erosional depositional interface is in the middle here somewhere. It's the difference between the erosion that's occurring on this side because the stream is running faster on the outside of the curve, right? And the depositional, right, depositional force that's happening here where the stream is moving slower, so it's depositing. Remember, if it moves slower, if you look at the page 6 on the reference tables, if the stream moves slower, it can't carry as big a particle. So it's going to drop the bigger ones out first and then the smaller ones out last. So again, the difference between the erosion on the outside and the deposition on the inside, in the middle, right, where it transitions from one to the other, right, that is where that happens, that erosional depositional interface. The other one is here. There's a point downstream, right, where it's depositing more, even if it's all the way to the mouth, right, it's depositing more than it's eroding. So in other words, somewhere between the source, which is obviously way up above where I am, and you'll see that in my video, somewhere between the source and the mouth, there is a line, right, an erosional depositional line where less erosion is happening and more deposition is happening. And so those are the two separate erosional depositional interfaces. The one would be between the streams, or, you know, in between the outer part of the curve and the inner part of the curve, and then the one from the upper part of the stream to the down part of the stream or towards the mouth. And that's the erosional depositional interface. I think I lost my paper. Oh no, there we go. Now I'm going to double check to make sure, but it seems like I'm missing something. I also want to show you kind of where I am on my map. Here, let me turn up sideways here. All right. So gradient, discharge, up, velocity I've spoken about a bunch of times, right? How it's moving faster, right? Velocity is speed and direction. Erosional depositional interface, right? The two different ones. And then I know it's wider from here to here, but it still has that designated V shape. And if you look downstream, right, and even on the topo map, you can see it. The elevation, right, change between here and here, right, is V-shaped. V-shaped. The stream is moving faster here, right? The slope is steeper. It's digging down, right, faster than it's digging side to side. Now, yes, there's this platform over here, which is actually the one I was talking about you can walk to from. There's a red fence up there, and where the red fence ends, right, there's a walk path that goes down. Not a great one, but it's a walk path that goes down along that side that you can see, and you can get right down on that plateau. But I wanted to be over here towards this shale bank because I wanted to add the shale section into it. Again, right, so the V shape, right, of the valley here, and we're talking, you know, the difference. If you look at the topo map, that I have here, right, if you look at the topo map, I'm somewhere in like right where right where this finger is. And if you look at the difference between where I am in elevation and where that is, right, that top section, and even up way up top at 700 feet, right, up in here. But I'm like 480 where I am now. And the top of this hill, right, the top of that hill is probably really close, right, really, really, really close to 600. And then as you move up a little bit further, it goes up quickly on the other side. But so we're almost talking 100 feet, or pretty close to 100 feet of difference between where I am and where the top is. For sure, right, it's 100 feet over there. The difference between the two. Oh, you can see somebody going by on the bike trail up there. So anyway, so that's it for today's outdoor classroom. If you have any questions about anything, please make sure that you send me your questions and let me know. Send me a snap, you know, or something. If you're out walking around, you see something cool in you know, in the neighborhood, earth science or otherwise, send me a snap of it, because I'm traveling quite a bit around Gloversville. I didn't today because I wanted to go down and show you this one, because I know if I'm able to stay out, I'm going to be doing some from Albany videos anyway. I won't be able to go. I might go live on YouTube, but I can't go Google Classroom. So our classrooms will be probably going back towards Gloversville now. I may do one down at the water treatment plant or down there, but that'll be it for today. So enjoy the day. Check the gradient. Right? Tell me why that stone is round. Right? Talk about the shale. Try to see if you can find out what that foundation is upstream. You know, find some history. And the last thing I want to show you, and I don't think you can see it, but I'm going to try. If you look over there, right here, right? That's a cell tower. And the top of that cell tower, oh, and she's coming in for a landing. On the top of that cell tower, you can't see the bird. I'm sure it's all blurry. Is an osprey's nest, and they've been there for about 5 years now. And we've been watching them come in. So if you go down the rail trail, you actually walk right by the nest. It's huge. It's sitting up in the cell tower. So it just goes to show you that at times, man and animals, right, can live together even in the harshest environments. All right. So until the next time, which will be Friday. I'll be posting another assignment tomorrow. Nothing today beyond what we did for the first few questions, but the next assignment will come from topic 10. And so keep that in mind as we go along. And I'll probably push that out sometime on Thursday or tomorrow afternoon. So again, any questions, email me, snap me, however you want to get a hold of me. Please do. And from the stream side at Kayadetta, have a good day.